What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the Strong.Sistas YouTube channel. While you're here, if you could hit the like and subscribe button, we very much appreciate it. Today's video, we are going to be showing you a what we eat in a day carnivore diet to lose fat. So we are still on our cut, so we're still in a fat loss phase. So we're going to show you our meals and provide some tips if you're interested in doing this for yourself. Okay, so now to get into what we eat in a day on the keto carnivore diet to lose fat. So ultimately, carnivore or keto is not a magical fat loss diet. I think there's unique properties to being in this diet that can aid in a fat loss goal. We're just gonna share some tips that have helped us if we are in a current fat loss stage of our lives. So for weight loss, calories are important. Are they the only thing? No, but they are something to consider. Yes, but here we go. So on our platter number one, so full day of eating carnivore diet, what we have here is a little bit of beef shank soup bone on right here, and then a burger grind that we just made that has heart, liver, and 90% ground beef. I have a little bit of raw beef suet because I consume a little bit more calories than Sarah does. And then we've got some wiggly jiggly bone broth. And so what we want to talk about here is three different things. So with this burger grind, what we've done here is we've stuffed in a ton of nutrients into something that's really tasty, like ground beef. So we've got heart and liver, which is gonna give us a lot of micronutrients, which ultimately is gonna satisfy us and do our bodies some good. So if you are eating lower calorie because you're in a diet, it's really important to eat nutrient dense. So that's what we're doing here with some nutrient dense burgers. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is simply to prioritize a little bit leaner cuts instead of adding a bunch of like suet, or prioritize leaner cuts instead of fattier cuts like chuck steak. Go for maybe the sirloin. What's some other lean cuts? Sirloin, round beef shank soup bone. What we have here is a rump roast, so you can see very lean on this side, and then on the other side is where
the thin fat cap.
The fat cap is. So if you're gonna prioritize the leaner cuts, which is a really intuitive way to help you with your fat loss goals, what you could do is just eat from this side and trim off the fat if you prefer.
And the reason for that is because, like I brought up, calories matter, and ultimately gram for gram, fat is going to have a higher calories. So 9 calories for every gram of fat versus 4 calories for every gram of protein. And so as we've been entering this diet, now in a caloric deficit, and so an easier way to get into a caloric deficit is to just slightly limit the amount of fat that you're consuming.
Yeah, so you don't have to have beef suet on your plate, for example. I have no beef suet here, so you don't need to add extra fat to your meals if you are trying to lose fat. So we're gonna get to eating our platter number ones and come back with you guys in a bit for more what we eat in a day for fat loss.
Let's see you. Starting off our day with a at-home workout since we are still quarantined in our house. Must maintain angel status. So today we have a angel wing lift. Let's go get those angel wings.
back in the kitchen because it is tortilla time. Tortilla time! Time for tortillas! So we're making some of our carnivore tortillas that we just shared the recipe video for. So I'll link that in the description below for 0-carb carnivore tortillas. But we're gonna bring up some other strategies we use for when we're trying to lose fat. So this is not so much what we eat in a day to lose fat, but also strategies we implement in a day to lose fat. And the first one is thinking a little bit about time restricted feeding. So rather than eating a bunch of times throughout the day, we prioritize eating either 2 meals a day or one meal OMAD. And the main reason we like to do this is because we find that it's easier to eat lower calories. So if we have suddenly restricted our calories in order to lose weight, it's easier to eat less in a smaller window. And so if you're just eating 1 meal a day, eating all your calories at once will seem like a really satisfying amount of food, as opposed to breaking that same amount of food into 5 or 6 or 7 smaller meals like they often recommend. Also, you're giving your body a lot of time to fast, and so burn through its own fat throughout the day. You're getting into ketosis, and you're probably gonna feel better in this fasted period, as opposed to when you break your fast and eat your meal, you might start feeling actually a little bit hungrier until you eat your second meal, or if you just do 1 meal. So when we are in a fat loss phase, we do like to definitely restrict it to 2 to 1 meals a day, but we are still pretty intuitive and we listen to our bodies. And if we're super hungry, we're not gonna like not eat and stuff, but it is helpful to think about when you're eating your food and how you're structuring your meals in terms of how many meals you're eating. So it's just something to think about for you and find what works for you and your hunger cues and your schedule. Second tip in this little segment is to prioritize eating more protein. Ashley, hit them with it.
Okay, can you watch the tortillas?
Yeah, I'll watch the
Flip them
tortillas
when they're done. So this circles back to the point we brought up earlier, where it's not all about calories. So calories aren't the only thing, they do matter. But this protein discussion brings up one of the points why it's not entirely about calories. So if we compare you consuming 1,000 calories of fat versus 1,000 calories of protein, your body is actually going to burn more calories breaking down that 1,000 calories of protein than it will breaking down that fat. And that's due to thermogenesis. So your body actually burns calories breaking down the food that you consume, and protein has the highest thermic effect relative to the other macros. So your body burns more calories breaking down protein than it does
About 20
fat.
to 30% of the calories from protein.
About 20 to 30% of the calories from protein are required to break it down. So therefore, if your diet is a little bit higher in protein, you are going to be burning more calories. So therefore, you can put yourself in a larger caloric deficit. Know what I'm saying? Another food item that we like to eat during our fat loss phase are these carnivore tortillas, because they are very macro friendly. So they are about 1 to 2 grams of fat and 5 grams of protein per tortilla. Talk about macro friendly there. Let's check these out.
So when she says macro friendly, she means smaller amount of macros per the sheer amount of food you're getting. So each tortilla has a good macro percentage, so it fills up our plates more. It's more volume.
More volume, more bang for its buck. Look at this tortilla. We're gonna use these to make some breakfast burritos.
I feel like volume eating, so eating higher volume foods when dieting, is a double-edged sword. So when you are on a standard plant-based diet, they do recommend to eat a bunch of plants when you're dieting because there's more nutrients in them and they're more volume per calorie. So same applies for animal foods like those tortillas, but that is where we do recommend that you prioritize the other nutrient dense items in your diet as well, like those organ blend burgers we showed earlier, just to ensure that you're getting all of your nutrients in as well. Back in the day, we used to only prioritize volume before we were carnivore, and we would eat like large protein ice creams and large salads with just romaine lettuce, just because there was a lot of food on the plate, a lot of bulk, but we never paid attention to nutrients as much as we should have. So
I would argue that we could have competed with Kobayashi
for
like enlarging our stomachs.
Oh, absolutely. So people actually ask, you eat all that plata at once? So they're talking about our plates.
We've trained for this,
with
folks.
the amount of food. We've been training for this amount of food for years, expanding our stomachs with our old plant-based diet, and now here we are.
No longer bloating.
No longer bloating, and always down to eat.
final tortilla stack. Look at these tortillas. So we're gonna use these to make some breakfast burritos that are awfully good. So we have some bacon from our local farmer. I'm gonna cook those up first. Then we are going to scramble some eggs and cook a mix of eggs, sweetbread, and brain in that bacon grease for the burrito filling.
Okay, so we just finished up cooking up our platter number 2. So we've got 2 of these. What we have here is a main plate of some of that rump roast, thinly sliced and then lightly seared. We have some beef liver seared. This is a little bit of extra brain and sweetbread. The rest is in these tortillas. We've got 1 sunny side up egg and then just a little bit of raw beef suet. Over here we have 2 of the Carnivore Tortillas, breakfast burritos stuffed with some scrambled eggs, sweetbread and brain, and then some pastured bacon. So this is gonna be what we feast on tonight. And just a few notes on this meal.
So Say left her breakfast burritos disassembled.
Deconstructed breakfast burritos. So I'm gonna be putting them together as I eat. One thing that's always on our plates, no matter if it's a fat loss phase or a weight gain phase, are eggs. And the reason it's really helpful in a what I eat in a day, trying to lose weight or lose fat, is because 1, there's a lot of different varieties in which you can cook your eggs, so you're getting to spice things up. So we've got some scrambled eggs here and then a sunny side up here. 2, they're very high volume for a lot of nutrients. So there's a ton of nutrients within egg yolks.
Jam-packed.
Jam-packed. And you can get a good amount of volume just for 2 scrambled eggs right here, or the same size for 1 sunny side up egg. So again, volume on your plate with a lot of nutrients. It's a good bang for your buck. Also, they keep you full longer with a ton of healthy fats and good quality proteins. Second thing is we're always prioritizing some sort of red muscle meat. For us, it's more satisfying to eat beef. Whether it's chuck steak or a leaner steak like this rump roast, it's more satisfying for us as opposed to a fully cooked chicken breast or some sort of other poultry meat. We don't get as satisfied.
The last thing that you will always find on our plate are organs. So on this platter we have liver, brain, and sweetbread.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's super important to consider your micronutrient intake when you are in a caloric deficit. It's more satisfying, satiating, and you're fueling your body with a lot of great nutrients, which is really important when you're in a caloric deficit.
And we mentioned that earlier when we were talking about the organ burgers that we were eating. Get them in some way, somehow, especially if you're eating carnivore. If that means grinding them into a burger and it's just liver, yeah, that's fine. So this is what we eat in a day to lose fat, and this keeps us full, this keeps us happy and healthy.
So we're gonna wrap up today's vlog. Hope you guys enjoyed our nose to tail feast today, our little at-home workout. Until our next vlog,
behave like an angel.